Hello and welcome back to the Gauntlet of Greatness. It is Memory Jar time once again. This deck, if you haven't seen it, this has got to be one of the favorites. It is undefeated so far. Memory Jar lets you draw 7 new cards. Often you'll find another Memory Jar or a Tinker because all that this deck has is fast mana cards and ways to go get the Memory Jars. If all else fails, then I'll drop down a Necropotence and draw 10 cards. That'll probably find you enough you need to go off. The kill card is, I've said this before, probably the sort of weirdest, worst kill card in the history of combo decks. Megrum says whenever your opponent discards, they take 2 damage per card that they've discarded. Well, you know what? Those Memory Jar hands go away at the end of the turn. So just the act of activating the Memory Jar and digging for more Memory Jars actually winds up killing them when at the end of the turn you say go, and 2 jars in a Megrum is usually 14 times 2, 28 damage. 1 jar and 2 Megrums also usually 28 damage. And if they play some spells, you probably can't get under it, or you can just play another jar, another Megrum. Anyway, awesome combo deck. And this week, the role of the Washington Generals, I guess, is going to be played by the Counterpost deck. Winless so far and facing relegation, but this Force of Will card is actually pretty good against the Jar deck. Like, if anybody can stop Jar's shenanigans, it should be a control deck with, Force of Will, Counterspell, Force Spike, a dozen counters, including free ones. I don't know. I actually think, and if anybody's going to be Memory Jar, it's got to be this deck, right? So let's see what happens. I will challenge. I will be the one playing the Jar side of the matchup. And all right, here we go. Yes, I would like to play first. My opponent has Force of Will, though. This card's really good. I guess I keep this. It's not the fastest draw. Right, this draw doesn't do anything on the first couple of turns. But it's got multiple threats. And I don't know that I want to mulligan, right? Is this draw too slow? Was I supposed to mulligan? Interesting. Well, my opponent's going to have up Counterspell by the time I can play Necro on turn 3. So I'm not sure I want to do that. I feel like... I don't love the idea of tapping these Ancient Tombs. Like, I could play a Megrum here, and then I could potentially even play a Jar on turn 3 off 2 Ancient Tombs. But then I'm not going for the black mana for Necropotence. Yeah, I kind of built this deck list. This version of the Jar deck list is all speed. Interesting. Not super interested in playing Necro, tapping out for it when my opponent plays Force Spike. I think we go Megrum here. Yeah, I didn't expect him to counter that. Kind of thought of it as bait, but this way I can play Necro with the ability to pay for Force Spike. And then I can follow up with a Jar if this gets countered. And then I can follow up with a Yawgmoth's Will if that gets countered. And the dream is that he runs out of land and has to start like brainstorming and impulsing and stuff. Interesting. Do I play an Ancient Tomb? Do I go Jar next turn? Oh, he's gonna tap mana. Disc? What if he has Force of Will? Man, the existence of Force of Will changes everything. I could totally win here if he doesn't have Force of Will, but I should just play the Jar. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't play the Jar. 1, 2, 3. I can tap out for it and hold my land drop. I can't play the Megrim and the Jar. I don't know. I mean, I could Intuition for Dark Rituals and do Yawgmoth's Will shenanigans, but then I'm kind of going all in on him not having a Force of Will. I think he's likely to have a Force of Will here, given that he tapped out. So I want to play the Jar. My only question is whether I play this Ancient Tomb. Well, I don't have to decide yet. Let's see if Memory Jar resolves. Ooh, Memory Jar resolved. Alright, now I'm gonna activate Memory Jar while he's tapped out, right? And I have a land drop available. I can save the Ancient Tomb to be my land drop next turn. Assuming there is a next turn. No gas. Sad. Oh well. Funny. Do I play all these into a disc? Yes, I play all these into a disc. If he wants to disc, it's fine. I've got a Yawgmoth's Will in my original hand. So I did my land drop for the turn. Yeah, all we got was mana. I deal a bunch of damage. I feel like 14 here, right? But yeah, now he'll have an untapped disc. I feel like I also know that this original hand does not have a Force of Will in it. Because he would have forced that Jar, I'm pretty sure. Alright. The graveyard has lots of good stuff in it. Thawing Glaciers. That's his long-term card advantage. Wow, tons of mana. So, playing the Megrim seems bad. I kind of want this Yawgmoth's Will to resolve. I need to bait with the Intuition? I mean, I can Intuition for something threatening. Like what, Tinkers? I have so much mana. I think I'm going to Intuition for Tinkers. And then, if he has a counter for the Tinker, okay, fair enough. I'm still building up to this Yawgmoth's Will. What? He has no counter. Now he's just dead? Oh, he can kill the... He can disc before the end of the turn to blow up the Megrim. So untapped disc means I can't kill him? That's weird. So I just have to make him disc away the Megrim. I've got this other one in my hand. I'm setting up for this Yawgmoth's Will. Yeah, it's funny. I can't kill him while he has an untapped disc. Because all my damage comes from this Megrim. There's no reason not to activate the Jar, though. I mean, I want to get as much value as I can while he's got that disc. Yeah, I need to force him to blow it so I can kill him next turn. Strangely, this Yawgmoth's Will doesn't do anything. I kind of want all these cards in my graveyard, I guess. Give myself more mana for next turn. Yeah, can't kill him with a disc in play. Because he'll always, I mean, assuming he times it right, he'll blow up the Megrim before it gets a chance to trigger. Oh, I guess if I jar, I get more stuff into my graveyard for that Yawgmoth's Will. Or do I just want to discard the jar? Weird. Of course, he's also going to decide, does he want to counter this? Sure. Oh, dissipate. Hilarious. I guess that's less than ideal for me. It's fine. I have a jar in the yard. I should be fine. All right, I kind of want these to go to the graveyard. I mean, obviously, ideally, I want that Yawgmoth's Will still in my library, but what are you going to do? He's obliged to disc, or he's just dead. Why isn't he disking away the Megrams? He is, okay. Yeah, before what the triggered ability on the stack. It's going to disc away the Megrams, fair enough. All this stuff goes to the graveyard. We go back to the original hand, where he does not appear to have a Force of Will. There's his kill condition. Geldorn Outpost. It's down to blue-blue. Does he have another counterspell? I play the Megram first? Probably do. Would you like to counterspell a Megram? No, he doesn't. Can't say I blame him. So what? I can pay for 2 Force Spikes. I don't need to play a land here. If he's got a counterspell, that's just annoying. And we might actually lose. Guess there's an issue of whether I really want to take that 2 damage. I guess I don't. I might actually care about that 2 damage. So I'll just play the City of Traders. Lose the other City of Traders. Get my Yawgmoth's Will mana this way. Man, if he's got a counterspell, we're in trouble. And he does. Tough but fair. I have no artifacts, so drawing a Tinker isn't even good. I mean, there's only one Tinker left in my... There's one Tinker left in my library. There's 1 jar left in my library. And there's 2 Yawgmoth's Wills left in my library. Out of 29 cards, we're actually in trouble. The Necros are still pretty good this turn. But, I mean, I'm taking 2 damage next turn, so Necro is quickly losing its value. I wonder if I was supposed to mulligan. Do I just have to do something explosive before Counterspell comes online? Maybe I do. What else has he got? Oh, he's got the disc. Blah! He's tapped it down to 4 spike mana, though. Come on, deck. Top deck. Now or never. Apparently never. Sad. I have an artifact for a Tinker, though. Although, yeah, that disc makes it... Again, I'm going to have to go off, force him to disc away the Necro, and then be able to go off again. I think we're drawing pretty slim. Drawing pretty slim. I don't know, there's this weird part of me that feels vindicated for putting the counterpost deck in the field in the first place. I was specifically thinking some sort of Force of Will control deck could actually give the crazy combo decks from the Urza Saga standard a run for their money, and here we are. Hasn't been Force of Will, but just good old-fashioned counter spells. Slowish draw from the Jar deck, to be fair. Possible I should have mulliganed. But I mean, I had 3 game-winning threats. It was slow enough, though, that these discs became good. That was my real problem. All right, well, he's going to have 4 soldiers next turn, so this is literally the last turn. Nothing. Wow. Good game. Yeah, he just makes a 4 soldier and attacks me. Crazy. Now, this is a good sideboard card for this matchup, don't you think? I do feel guilty for having the whiteboarded versions in my deck, but clearly 4 defense grids is huge. Clearly these pyroblasts are good. Wow, this whole sideboard is good. I can bring in all 15 cards could be good. What do I take out, though? Intuitions are probably bad because they thin the threats out of my deck. Yawgmoth's Will is ridiculous. Necro's ridiculous. I need the 3 Megrams. The Tinkers are kind of great. I don't think I can afford to pull Jars. Am I pulling some fast mana? Man, what do I take out? It's really, I mean, I guess these disenchants are super situational. It's not, I'm not playing the game to disenchant a Nevi's disc. I should be able to kill him before that. I mean, defense grids are better than duresses. The defense grids are the best ones. I know I want as many defense grids as I can get my hands on. Pyroblasts are even hard to cast, right? They're just City of Brass and Mox Diamond. So I've taken out 2 intuitions for 2 defense grids. What else am I taking out? Maybe a City of Traders? Since we get these games where I'm kind of building up land. And then what? Like a Tinker or a Jar? It's kind of scary to take any of those out of my deck. Maybe the 4th Necro? Only the backup plan. Maybe it is the 4th Necro. I mean, I think I need the Tinkers and the Jars more than I need the Necros, so. Alright. We'll just go 4 defense grid. I don't feel like setting up Pyroblast is better than just having more threats. Wow. So I can go turn 1 defense grid, which is awesome. Oh, I do have the City of Brass for this, for the Dark Ritual. So this is a ton of fast mana, 2 defense grids. I just need to draw anything. Yeah, I think I keep this. Force of Will? No Force of Will. Awesome. So now all of his permission, Force of Will included, is shut off till he draws a ton of land. So any threat we draw is going to resolve. Do have to draw a threat. We took some out of the deck. I think it's worth having 2, so they can't build up mana. I'm a little nervous about what Navigator's Disc does. But then again, I have the Yawgmoth's Will. I don't know. Threat, please. It's not a threat. I want the Mana Vault in play. I don't know. I'm not going to run out of colorless mana. What I need is and anything. A Tinker, a Jar, Necro, anything. Before he comes up with a disc. Wow. Yeah, I think I hold Mana Vault as a hedge against a disc. Sure, Mox Diamond. Tons of mana. Yawgmoth's Will is not a threat all by itself, though. Deck? Megrim. He probably doesn't have a disc, given that he didn't play it right there. I don't know. Do I risk this? I'm just gonna hold it. He's even getting up to the point where he can pay at 5 mana. No, he needs 6 mana to pay for these. Sorry. He's got 5. And the Thawing Glacier, so he still cannot force a will, but he can Nevi's Disc. And he does. You know, deck, now would be a great time to give me something. Anything. Anything scary, please? Done. That will work. All right. How do I play this? Yeah, I mean, I'm deploying all of this. Can't actually. Oh, I can jar as a response to the Mox Diamond trigger. Discard a land to it that way. Oh, go get some colorless mana. Drop the Megrim. Blue and 2 colorless to tinker away the Mana Vault. And here's a Memory Jar. I do not think there's any good reason to play the Yawgmoth's Will, because it's just a Dark Ritual, a Mana... Oh, it's a Dark Ritual, Mana Vault, and a Tinker. Wait, maybe the Dark Ritual... Maybe this is worth it, because if I can do a second Tinker, then... Yeah, then that's the whole game. Alright, if I... What? I tap this, I Yawgmoth's Will, Dark Ritual, Mana Vault, Tinker, second Jar. I think that's just game. Yeah, this will leave a black, so I can Ritual. I can Mana Vault. I can get... Oh, I may as well sack this for blue now, so that it's in the graveyard. Tinker the Vault. For a Memory Jar. Yeah, game. 2 jars and a Megrim. No reason I need to do anything here. No reason not to. Yep, just going through the motions. And here we go. How about 28 Megrim counters? And this one does too. There you go. Wow. Just in time. I mean, the defense grid's obviously shut his entire game plan down. I have to have a threat to follow up with. Man, this chance, I don't think I'm supposed to put cards in my deck that are only good if We go for a while. He plays a disc, taps out for a disc, and I still can't kill him. Just does not sound right. I mean, all these cards are good at interacting with him, but my deck is a combo deck. I can't take the fast mana out, or I won't be able to chain the jars and the Megrams into each other. Yeah, I think this is the way to run it. But I'm on the draw now, which is obviously worse. This hand doesn't do anything. Yeah, the Yawgmoth's Will is worthless with no threats. Getting a Megram down isn't exciting, so... Mulligan. Alright. Fast mana and a defense grid, and it's a 6-card hand. I think it's better than a 5. Ooh, Plains. So he's not even threatening a Force Spike. So... yeah, a Mox Diamond's better than a Swamp. Here's Defense Grid. Does he have a Disenchant? Does have a Disenchant. That's annoying. Plains, though. I don't know if I want to play City Traders. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's no reason to play it. Come on, deck. Yawgmoth's Will. Are Yawgmoth's Will to get the defense grid back? Probably do. Yeah, I totally should. Oh, I can even get the swamp out of the graveyard so that I've got black for Necro. How's the mana work here? I go black. I don't really want to sack the petals if I don't have to, because he might counter this Yawgmoth's Will. I mean, I have to sack them ahead of time before I know if he's going to counter it. Yeah, it's not worth it. He has to decide. Okay, he's thinking. It clearly says Force of Will, and indeed, there's the Force of Will. All right, and he removed a counterspell, so we got a Force of Will out of his hand. That's great. Oh, I do want to play the City Traders now, because I want to use it to untap Mana Ball. Roger that. He's got 4 cards, 3 cards, blue mana now, so Force Spike is online. And he's going to thaw for an island, so counterspells are online starting next turn. Interesting. I think that means I might skip a turn of activating Mana Vault, because I really prefer to top deck something now. And I'm willing to take a damage. That's not something. Damn it. Well. Now he gets a second island. He did remove a counterspell to the Force of Will, but, I mean, what's he holding, right? Oh, and he's impulsing. So double blue and a card from an impulse. We are in trouble. Fascinating. Go Gadget counterspell deck, right? Yeah, at this point, I have no reason to believe I can cast the thing I top deck successfully, so I am going to untap this Mana Vault. And try to build up for a big threat turn. I mean, I'm probably going to have to build up to a turn where I have multiple threats, but do I even have more threats in my deck than he has counterspells in his? It's pretty close. And he's thawing. He's getting more lands for more counters, and he's thinning his deck. He got planes there? Must have an outpost. Which will put a clock on me. Oh, he's still thawing. Okay. Yawgmoth's it's not nothing, but I want a second threat. Or thawing glaciers. Okay, that's a second threat. So what? I go Mana Vault, City of Traders for Memory Jar, and then I still do have enough for Yawgmoth's Will. I don't think the situation gets better if I let him get 4 blue mana. Right. So this is going to get me... I'm only going to get the defense grid out of this? No, maybe I can get to the jar. Well, let's see if this resolves. It does. Okay. So I get the Lotus Petal. Get the Lotus Petal. I can get the Swamp. I'll lose the City of Traders, but got enough lands that that's probably worth it. Plus, I want the mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mox Diamond makes 5. So I can either have a Memory Jar or I can have a Defense Grid. And given how much mana he has, pretty sure I want the Memory Jar. Oh, am I going to get Force Spiked here? Oh no, I could get Force Spiked here. I kind of have to go for it though. Use my land drop for the turn. Oh, I'm going to get Force Spiked. No, I didn't get Force Spiked. Okay. Interesting. Now, do I try to keep going? I've used my land drop. 2 petals are removed from the game. 2 Moxes, but he has Disenchant in his deck. It's hard to keep going from here. I kind of want to untap. I made him use 1 Disenchant. Huh. What do I do? I have no mana floating. There's only 2 petals and 2 Mox Diamonds that would allow me to keep going here. I think I have to risk a Disenchant. I mean, if he Disenchants, it's really bad. But if I jar and I don't hit a free mana spell and a Dark Ritual, then I'm just done. So I got my Memory Jar in play. I just have to hope he can't Disenchant it. If I get to untap, then I like my chances. Yeah, I mean, I do have to let him untap too, but I mean, drawing 7, pretty good. It looks like I do get to untap. Sweet. No. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, that's fine. Here's a Megrim. Kind of expected that to happen, but now I have a land drop and an untapped Mox Diamond, so reason to believe I can keep chaining stuff together. Like blue on the other side, but what are you going to do? 1, 2, 3. I have 4 mana, so it is not possible to play a Memory Jar out of this hand. It is possible to play 2 Defense Grids out of this hand. But if I do that, then I'm going back to my original hand, which has nothing in it. With no threats in play. 2 defense grids is not enough to stop him from countering stuff anyway. Like, I want to go Ritual Necropotence. Like, that's what I want to resolve here, is Ritual Necropotence. I can't get a defense grid in because I only have access to 4 mana. If I go defense grid, he can pay... He can have blue, and then 6 available to pay for the 2 defense grids. So I just have to hope that he went 0 for Counterspell Force of Will here. Counterspell Force of Will dissipate. Which is a long shot. But this hand is awkward. All these expensive artifacts. Of course. Count Force of Will. Sad. What are you going to do? That is unfortunate. Oh, he's got a Brainstorm. This is pretty smart, actually. He gets to take cards from his Memory Jar hand and put them on the top of his deck so that he'll draw them next turn. That's pretty smart. Not a whole lot we can do about it, unfortunately. So he can either set his draw. If he wants to Thawing Glaciers, then he'll be shuffling. So he may not want to thaw now. If he puts something good on top. Wow, look at that. Really? That's funny. Circle black. I guess his sideboard didn't have a ton of stuff. So he let the Memory Jar trigger resolve. Now he's got his original hand back, and he's going to impulse out of his original hand to, oh, this lets him pick up whatever he put on top of the Brainstorm and still use Thawing Glaciers to get more lands into play. We're going to lose. I'm probably not supposed to be happy about that. I mean, I'm playing the Jar deck here. But glad to see the counterpost deck do its thing. Maybe even avoiding relegation. We were going to probably wind up with, oh, then there's a victory condition. The Rainbow Ifrit. Killing people in control decks as the one creature. Too funny. I should probably untap Mana Vault so I don't change the clock here. We're going to lose to Rainbow Ifrit with a Memory Jar deck. And this group gets interesting because until this match, Group B has gone straight seeds. The Memory Jar deck was the 1 seed, win-win. The Counterpost deck was the number 4 seed, loss-loss. And then the other matchup in this group is the other 2 decks are going up. They're both 1-1. So it's basically a win and in for a playoff spot. But it turns out it's going to create tie for the playoff spot at 2-1, tie for the relegation spot at 1-2. So we may need us some tiebreakers. Can't imagine that I'm going to win this game. I mean, I have to just hope against hope that I can top deck a threat or 2 and that his hand will be garbage, but his hand should be good. Brainstorming and impulsing and manipulating, sneaking cards from the Memory Jar hand into the next hand, and plenty of blue mana. He's going to have a disc as well. So the disc essentially, untapped disc means it's not possible for us to combo him out. Because we can do whatever we want to do, and then he just discs away the Megrim. I have nothing in my deck to deal with a Nevi's disc. And you can even phase out the Rainbow Ifrit, then blow the disc. Oh, and then she comes back at the beginning of the next turn. Isn't that nice? Nice. Nice to see the decks do their thing. I mean, the Jar deck is still through to the playoffs. It's just, it's going to be tied for first and second. Yeah, we're dead. I'll let him have the glory of actually attacking for the win. Outpost keeps spitting out soldier tokens. Thawing Glaciers keeps thinning the lands out of the deck. This is the way Control worked in 1996. Unbelievable. Crazy.
Wow.
I know, right?
Wow. Yeah, like, I cast Nevdis the first game, and I'm like, if I get to untap, I think I just win.
Yeah, I didn't realize that interaction either, but yes. My deck is supposed to be faster than that, but game one I kept this kind of slow draw. Like it had 3 must counter threats. I had a Necro, I think had a Necro, a Jar, a Yawgmoth's Will, and drew into something else. But yeah, the Nevi's disc, you can just go off all you want, just disc away the Megrum, and then you haven't accomplished anything.
Right. What have you done? You've thrown away a bunch of cards.
It's a weird interaction. You played it well too.
The second game, I actually had 3 Force Spikes in my hand. I'm like, all right, I got this. I'm going to play Island and then Force Spike the defense grid and then double Force Spike the next defense grid. And you're like, turn 1 defense grid. I'm like, well, now my hand is really bad. Yeah.
That makes sense. This last game, I thought I was doing all right too. The jar hand that I got was awkward. Like I had 2 defense grids in it.
Right.
It was like 2 defense grids, 2 memory jars, 1 ritual, the Necro, and I only had access to 4 mana.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like your jar hand probably had more counters, so I just have to hope you don't have anything. But
my jar hand had, like, I had Brainstorm, Dissipate, Force of Will, Force Spike, and some cards that I guess didn't matter, so that I knew that I could actually go ahead and brainstorm to put counters on top once the hand was done.
Yep. Wow. So Counterpost was facing relegation. In order to stay in the field for Season 2, you had to beat the jar deck.
No problem. No problem.
I thought you were the Washington Generals here.
What can you do?
You're supposed to let the Globetrotters win.
It's true. I was supposed to let the Globetrotters win.
Well, you weren't supposed to let the Globetrotters win. Sometimes they just draw slow, and you know what? Force of Wills and counterspells. That was a cool match. And it does make this group pretty interesting. It looks like we're going to have now a tie for first and a tie for last. So may need to sort out some tiebreakers.
More Magic.
Playoff games, absolutely. All right. Thanks for the games. See you guys shortly with more Gauntlet of Greatness.